What's up everybody, Nick here. I thought I'd put together a quick video on how I clean my handguns. Most specifically, my Glock 19. I have recently used it. I've put about approximately 200 rounds through it, and I thought I'd go through and do a little bit of a Glock perfection cleaning to show you guys how I do it. I by no means am a professional. I'm just a guy that's kind of learned along the way, and I'm going to go over the different products that I use and kind of piece together the video little by little on how I clean it, break it down, oil it, and how I store everything for you guys that, for one, have been doing it for a long time. Maybe you can see something that you aren't familiar with, or you guys that are brand new to cleaning your pistol and really just are looking for some advice or some best practices. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you what I use. All right, so to get started, I do like to store everything in a nice case. This is actually just a little range box that I found. I can't remember where I got it, but I keep some extra parts and accessories in here. Most of my stuff is out on the table right now, but some extra cleaning rods, a bore light, a couple casings that I use for cleaning my AR-15, a couple of other tools and brushes, and then an extra needle oiler. Down underneath here, what I like about it is I can keep some of my less used things, kind of supplies. I've got extra patches, cotton swabs. I've got a gun cleaning mat. I've never actually used that because I have my workbench. I thought it'd be nice, but I'm sure I'll find a use for it in the future. I also have a jag set. Ever since I started using bore snakes, I don't really use those all that often anymore, but they still do come in handy if you're doing a detail cleaning. And then of course, cotton swabs. Can't remember if I said that or not. But anyhow, those are just some of the things that I store in there. I do keep a little piece of Scotch-Brite that just fell at the bottom in case I need to get some stubborn carbon off of something. To begin over here, just so everyone knows, I am a Hoppe's number 9 guy. Been using it for a long time. I've never had any issues with it. I like specifically the jars of the cleaner, as well as the Hoppe's number 9 oil, but I do like to transfer the oil into one of these needle oilers, and it helps for precision oiling and getting it just where it needs to go so you don't over oil it. I think I got a 2-pack of those on Amazon for about $6.99. Use an old, it's a new toothbrush that I use only for gun cleaning. I also use a bore snake now, a crevice tool, some patches. I do like rim oil. I use it, I don't use it for like a full cleaner. I use it more for the Teflon coating that it provides. And towel, always nice to have. And then I have the patch tool, so I can run this through the bore and get some final cleaning done after I run the bore snake through and all that. All right, so the first thing we want to do is make sure that gun safety is top of mind. I do like to keep my magazines loaded in the gun. I don't typically keep one in the chamber, but just to double check, first thing I'll do is press the magazine release, go ahead and pop the magazine out, set it aside. And before I start cleaning, I actually remove this from the tabletop where I'm doing my cleaning, just to ensure that no matter what, there's no way a round can get into the gun. So I'll move that aside for now. And then guys, what I'll do is I'll definitely rack the slide a couple times, and then I'll look inside to make sure that there's nothing. And then I will lock it back, and I'll kind of look down the chamber and make sure that there's no brass in there that I can see. A little bit dark in the garage right now, but normally I can see down the barrel. So anyhow, that's kind of how I get it started. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here, and I'll come back and show you how I break it down. All right, so as far as breaking the Glock down, I've already removed the magazine you can see here. And you go ahead, you do have to squeeze the trigger, and then you just simply, I like to place my thumb here and my other 4 fingers up top, and then you move it back just about 1/8 of an inch, pull down the breakdown tabs here on both sides, and then let the slide go forward. You'll see it release back here, and then I just move it forward. I've got the frame here. Go ahead and set that aside for now. As far as the slide assembly goes, you can definitely see some of the dirt and debris in there from the recent shooting. What I'll do is just simply take my index finger, push back on the spring, pop it out, set that aside for now. That then allows me to pop the barrel up from the bottom, kind of push on with my hand, let it come forward just a little bit, and then I'm able to pull it straight out, okay? And so there I've got it broken down into the 4 components for the field strip, and I'll show you how I start the cleaning process.
Alright, so to get started, I take my toothbrush, I actually just dip it right in the hoppies. I know some guys say not to do that, but I've never had a problem with it. I'll dip it in there, and I usually just start by dabbing it on some of the components. And I usually start with the spring, just because it can tend to get some carbon buildup on it. I actually will take some and just kind of rub down the barrel. You know, just a light coating. I put a little bit there in the crown at the exit, add a little bit extra back here and kind of scrub just a little bit. And then what I'll typically do is I usually keep my finger over the striker area, and I will kind of just like rub it into the gun crevice, kind of like this. You don't want to get too much cleaner / oil down that area. You know, that's just what I've always been told, and I've kind of followed that, never had any issues. So I just kind of wipe it in there to get started. I'll also take some, and then on the internal of the gun here, I'll kind of just, you know, do a little brushing to get some of that cleaner on all the surfaces to start the process of breaking the carbon down. I'll usually go down the magazine well a little bit, make sure I get all the metal. I'm just really gentle. I don't scrub. I just kind of lightly put it on there. Just take my time, and then usually what I'll do is, as I'm doing this, I'll let it sit for a few minutes, and I'll come back to it, and then I'll start getting into some of the patch cleaning after it sat for a few moments.
One thing too, guys, that I forgot to mention, one thing I do like about the rim oil or any sort of aerosol, I know there's foams out there can do it, but the one thing I forgot to mention is, you know, I add the hoppies to the outside of it, but to clean the inside, what I do is I always take my barrel and kind of put my pinky over the crown of the barrel there, and then I just spray the cleaner in from inside of it, and just kind of make sure I roll it around. You can kind of see it start dripping out, and that really is going to help kind of get some of that carbon, you know, fouling that's in there, get the feed ramp, and then I just really just set that aside. And the aerosol really helps to kind of get in the barrel, and it'll help when I run the bore snake through it here in just a moment. So now that everything's been sitting for about 5 minutes, give or take, I've taken the toothbrush and I've gone over everything, starting with the spring, and I've really just kind of like held up my hands and I scrub across the springs, roll it over, really try to get down in between everything to get it nice and cleaned out with those carbon deposits. Maybe run it over the end a little bit. I've also taken the slide and I've really allowed the cleaner to do the work, and I'm just actually taking the debris out with the toothbrush itself. Not scrubbing hard. Once again, I just try to get up in these areas because the patch is really what's going to take the debris out, not this. And I get down inside, a little bit up here. And then on the barrel, what I've done is I've done a nice scrubbing on the outside. And just so you guys know, I've already gone through, and just for video purposes, I've already cleaned it all. I just want to go over it quickly and show you how I do it. So I usually spend about 3 to 5 minutes doing this, especially here on the feed ramp. This is probably where the highest amount of carbon is going to be, because that's right where the primer strike happens and the major explosion occurs. That in the barrel, of course. So I get in there, and I've also taken the inside of this, and I've really done a good job of rubbing it down along all the metal surfaces up here along the bottom, and then just lightly I go down in the magazine well as and just clean that out. And then I'll show you guys what I do with the barrel and the bore snake. I find it much easier to just wait until I get home. And what I do is always from the breech end first, I take the weighted end of my bore snake, drop it down in there and kind of pull it through. And because I already put the lubrication / cleaner, the rim oil down there, I don't actually have to put any cleaner on my bore snake. But a lot of guys will take this and they'll add a little bit of hoppies to it, and then they'll actually add some oil to the tail. But I like to wait till the end to do that. And so what I do is I just take my bore snake, wrap it around my hand a couple times, get the bore snake to the back of the barrel, and then I just kind of pull straight up. And then right when I feel those bristles get there, I'll kind of readjust my hands, and then I'll pull it. It gets a little bit tighter. there the bristles just went through. Now I got the friction of all that surface being cleaned. Now the tail is going to pop out here in a second. There we go. And what I typically do is I'll do that a good 3 or 4 times just to make sure that it's all cleaned out on the inside. And it really, once you get started, it works really well. The other thing that I recommend is on these bore snakes, I've heard about a lot of guys saying that, the paracord broke off on the end. I think you have to be a little bit smart about it. When I start wrapping my hand around it, I get it started and then I keep choking my hand up on the paracord. As soon as it pops through like that, I actually pull from the braided area so it doesn't get stuck in there. And I find that's a lot easier. You can even readjust your hands and keep pulling it like that, and then you're done. And guys, I know it's a little bit hard to see down the barrel here, but if you look there, actually you can look from this side. I mean, that thing is already shiny and clean just from running that bore snake through there 3 times. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the second step of the process started, which is cleaning with the patches. All right, so one thing I did do, I already took 1 patch. I just kind of soaked it in some Hoppy's oil because I'll be using that here in just a few moments. I like to kind of absorb into the patch. But what I'll do is I'll start with some clean, dry patches for the 9mm. And then what I'll do is I just actually start wiping all the components down. And you can start to see just after my cleaning, just all the dirt and debris that's actually coming off of that. It's more carbon than dirt, actually. But I just start wiping down. And most things, especially on this gun, the Glock 19, you can get most things done with your hand pretty easily. And when I'm not sitting on a video camera cleaning it, I do take my time, going a little bit quicker than I normally would. But remember, I've already cleaned the entire barrel with the bore snake. And once again, I did not add the oil to the tail of the bore snake. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm going to show you the other method where you use the patch and the tool, because a lot of you guys have that. You don't have the bore snake. So I'll go ahead and set the barrel aside. My spring, I just kind of like run it down like that. The slide, I'll start by just wiping down everything. And then what I do is I grab this crevice tool and I'll usually grab the patch and just start going over everything. And I like it because it has nice little plastic points on it that won't damage any of your metal, but it's going to get in all the crevices, hence crevice tool, and allow you to clean those things out and get rid of all the fouling. So I got that done. I will wipe the top of the slide here. Kind of wipe it down, just get all the excess off. At the end, I usually go through and I do a kind of just a really, really light oiling on the outside of everything. So I got those done. And then, guys, what I do is I just kind of run another patch in there. That one's getting a little bit dirty. So I'll take another one. Usually use about 3 or 4 patches per cleaning. I try to be sparing because, believe it or not, these things are kind of expensive. A lot of guys will use old shirts, which I do use. Especially when I'm cleaning bigger, like rifles and shotguns and things like that. But just for the basic handgun, I mean, this is really all you need. I'll take the patch, because remember I told you I did put cleaner in there, and I'll run it all the way through the magazine tube. Make sure that's nice and clean. Kind of wipe the excess down. And then, guys, what I do, just make sure all the metal's clean, give it a once over, and then I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and continue to wipe it a little bit while I prepare for the next portion of the video here. But that's pretty much it. That is the major cleaning of the gun. And that's why I like the bore snake so much. I don't have to worry about using this or running bristles through and having it spray everything. It's just so nice and clean, and I found it to be super time saving.